Have you ever noticed how some people cannot answer a simple question without giving a whole backstory? You ask, "Why are you late?" And they respond like they are testifying in court. Dates, screenshots, traffic patterns, a detailed timeline of their soul. And the weird part? They are not lying. They are just terrified of being misunderstood. Today, we are decoding the psychology of people who over-explain themselves. Not the funny kind, the kind where you can feel the anxiety underneath the words. Because over-explaining is rarely about clarity. It is about safety. Picture this. You send a short message. "Can we talk?" 2 minutes later, you get a paragraph. Then a second paragraph. Then, "Sorry for the long message. I just want to explain properly." And suddenly, you are not texting anymore. You are holding someone's emotional weight. So, why does the brain do this? Why do some people treat every conversation like a potential trial? Here are the psychology patterns hiding behind the extra words. 1. They learn that being misunderstood is dangerous. Over-explaining often starts in childhood. Not because the person loved talking, because they had to. Maybe they grew up around someone who twisted their words. Someone who looked for mistakes. Someone who punished them for tiny details. So the child learned a survival rule. If I explain everything, I cannot be blamed. This is called hypervigilance. The nervous system stays on guard, scanning for threat. Not lions. Tone, facial expressions, silences. That one eyebrow lift, that means, "I do not believe you." So they add context. Then more context. Because context feels like armor. In psychology, this connects to rejection sensitivity. When you expect rejection, your brain starts preemptively defending you. It tries to control the narrative before someone else controls it. And the sad part? Over-explaining can become a reflex even with safe people, because the body remembers what the mind wants to forget. You can hear it in their language. "I just want you to know I am not making excuses. I do not want you to think I am irresponsible. I promise I am not mad. I am just tired." That is not communication. That is fear management. 2. They confuse being liked with being understood. Some people do not simply want clarity, they want approval, and in their mind, approval comes from being perfectly understood. This is where people-pleasing sneaks in. If they believe love is conditional, they start earning it. By being helpful, by being agreeable, by being explainable. So they add emotional disclaimers. They soften every sentence. They overqualify everything. "I might be wrong, but..." "I do not mean this in a bad way, but..." "Please do not take this the wrong way." That is the brain trying to prevent conflict. Because conflict, to them, does not feel like a disagreement. It feels like abandonment. This ties to attachment patterns. If someone had inconsistent emotional support, they may develop anxious attachment. They become highly tuned to signs of disconnection, so they over-explain to keep the bond intact. They think, "If you understand my intentions, you will not leave." But here is the twist. Sometimes over-explaining does the opposite. It overwhelms people. It signals insecurity. It turns simple moments into emotional negotiations. And then the over-explainer panics even more, because now they feel like they are too much. So they explain that too. 3. They are trying to escape shame, not share information. Shame is a heavy emotion. It whispers, "Something is wrong with you." So when shame shows up, the person wants to prove they are still good. Over-explaining becomes a way to clean themselves in real time, like an internal courtroom where they must present evidence of their innocence. Think about how they react to small mistakes. They spill coffee and immediately say, "I know it is not a big deal. I just feel bad because I should have been more careful. And I was rushing because my morning was chaotic. And I did not sleep well. And I did not want to bother anyone. And I hate being that person." Whew. That is not about coffee. That is shame spiraling. In cognitive psychology, shame can trigger catastrophizing. The brain jumps from a small event to a global identity verdict. Late once becomes, I am unreliable. Misunderstood once becomes, I am a bad person. So they over-explain to prevent that verdict. They want to be seen as thoughtful, as ethical, as safe. It is also connected to the fundamental attribution error. We judge ourselves by intentions. We judge others by behavior. Over-explainers know this. So they try to force others to see their intentions too. Because if you only see their behavior, they fear you will label them. And labels feel permanent. 4. They have a high need for control, because uncertainty feels unbearable. Some people over-explain because they cannot tolerate ambiguity. If there is a gap in the story, their brain fills it with worst-case scenarios. So they try to remove every gap. This is related to intolerance of uncertainty. It shows up in anxiety. The mind believes, if I cover every angle, nothing can go wrong. So they pre-answer questions you did not ask. They add footnotes. They predict your reaction. They manage your feelings before you even have them. You will notice it when they say things like, I know you might think this is weird. You are probably annoyed, I get it. Before you misunderstand, let me explain. That is cognitive bias in action. Mind reading. Projection. Assuming the other person is already judging them. And here is the sneaky part. Over-explaining can feel like control, but it creates more uncertainty. Because the more you talk, the more chances you give someone to misinterpret. It is like trying to stop a leak by pouring more water. The real need underneath is emotional regulation. Their nervous system wants certainty, so they try to build it with words. You can see this in everyday scenes. At work, they give a 5-minute explanation for a 1-line update because they fear being seen as lazy. In relationships, they apologize for feelings they are allowed to have. In friendships, they over-clarify jokes because they are scared of being labeled mean, and the brain gets rewarded for it. If they over-explain and the other person relaxes, the anxiety drops. That relief trains the habit. It is negative reinforcement. The behavior stays because it removes discomfort. A quick reset is called the 2-sentence rule. Say what happened, say what you need, stop. Example, I got here late because the train stopped. I will stay 10 minutes extra. No defense, no self-attack, no essay. At first it feels rude, but it is actually respect. It respects your time, and it respects the other person's ability to understand. If they still judge you, that is about them, not you. 5. Sometimes it is actually high empathy and high self-awareness. Not all over-explaining comes from fear. Sometimes it comes from depth. Some people think in layers. They feel responsible for how their words land. They can see multiple perspectives at once. This can happen with people high in emotional intelligence. They notice nuance. They track context. They want to be fair. They might also be high in conscientiousness, a personality trait linked to responsibility and detail. So their default mode is, be thorough. But even the healthy version can become unhealthy when it turns into overfunctioning. When you start carrying the emotional labor for everyone. When you feel like it is your job to prevent misunderstandings that are not your fault. So how do you tell the difference? Listen for the energy. Healthy explaining feels calm. It is about connection. Over-explaining feels urgent. It is about protection. Now here's the part nobody says out loud. Over-explaining is often a silent request. Please see me correctly. Please do not punish me for being human. Please do not leave. And if you are the person who does this, you are not broken. Your brain adapted. It learned a strategy that once kept you safe. But you can update the strategy. Next time you feel the urge to write the extra paragraph, pause. Ask yourself one question. Am I explaining to be understood, or am I explaining to be accepted? If it is acceptance, you might be negotiating with old pain, not the current moment. Try a smaller sentence. Let it stand. Notice the discomfort. That discomfort is your nervous system learning a new rule. I can be safe without proving myself. And if you are on the other side, listening to an over-explainer, try this. Do not interrupt their whole story with "you are fine." Instead, give them one clear signal. I get it. I believe you. I am not mad. For some people, those 3 words are medicine. Because the real goal is not fewer words, it is more security. So here is your takeaway. Over-explaining is not a personality flaw. It is a psychological fingerprint of how someone learned to survive relationships. It can come from rejection sensitivity, shame, anxiety, or even deep empathy. But the common thread is this: they are trying to feel safe in your mind. If this hit a little too close, you are not alone. Drop a comment with the one sentence you wish people understood about you. And if you want more videos that decode the quiet habits people never talk about, tap subscribe and stay here. We are building a space where your mind finally makes sense.